Top stories, a decision on the fate of Investec Loyal in the Sydney to Hobart yacht race expected at this moment. Let's take you live now to the Royal Yacht Club of Tasmania.
Michael Coxon also attended to give evidence on the matter of the protest. The full committee has dismissed the process and announced us as the winner of the race.
How you feeling? Anthony, what's your emotion, Anthony, now?
It's sort of the long way around in some ways. It's very relieving to actually get to this point. There's rules in every sport, and I suppose while it wasn't ideal to have to go through this and do that, but I think that ultimately it gets beyond any question, and whatever those questions were that were asked have been properly answered and properly looked into. So I think for the crew and everyone like that, if there is any doubt around it, it's probably better off to have it out like it is and have a panel of peers come up with the answers to what that was.
Nearly 3 hours in there for you. What was it like?
It was longer than usual. I thought it would actually be a bit quicker. There wasn't a whole lot of dialogue to be discussed, but the thoroughness of the review, the evidence which was collated and collected, was obviously taking the matter very seriously on protest. And I guess, like I said, the longer it goes, the more thorough it was going to be. And we gladfully accept that, like I said, it was long, and it's just a casualty of getting it right. So.
You look pretty emotional about this. How are you feeling?
It's an amazing thing to just be here, you know. And we sort of stuck it out in Loyal and believed in the boat when, so we had critics and people saying it can't go any faster and it can't win races, and you start to go around the twist. And the whole experience with this whole sailing thing has been such a fantastic one. It's really our primal thing, as we said at the start, and the few guys that got it going was all about raising money for charity. When we achieved that, we knew that the boat had to be a fast boat to actually give it credibility in sailing, not just, so not just compete at a small level, but compete at a full level. And I guess the sweetness, sort of going through a process and getting to this is actually something quite special.
Anthony, do you think with the process that's gone through and with the incident occurring on the first morning, do you think this could have been dealt with and the system would have been dealt with before you finish, and that way you have in your mind that it's clear and the race itself can celebrate the win when it happens?
Yeah, that's one of the things that's probably been nicked off the crew, do you know what I mean? Sort of that, you sort of finish. I don't know if you guys caught footage of us all carrying on like we were after it. I just wasn't sure actually who was steering the boat. It was a great moment that got cut short on the basis of that. But in saying that, I'd prefer if there was a question mark that was given over anything in the race to have actually dealt with it properly and gone through a process like this, rather than it got overlooked just for the sake of procedure. Because if there was going to be doubt or there was going to be any sort of question on it, you wouldn't want to sort of carry that one on and hear about it in years to come and say, it was something you guys did wrong on the radio. And I'd rather just have it cleaned up like it was. If you had to get it like that, I'm not pleased.
How are you celebrating this, Anthony?
We had a crew lunch on. Started about 2 hours ago. I think the first thing I do is go and fuck the team. I get on my phone, but they threw me in the water with it yesterday, so I'll borrow someone's phone and let the guys know. The actual racing team is an unbelievable team of guys. The group of guys who put the race together yesterday did such a phenomenal job that every single one of them, including the new sailors, Amanda, sort of all contributed pretty highly. They'll be on the edge of their seats. And as much as you do say, don't worry, we won on the water anyway, don't worry what happens in the room, it does matter what happens in the room. It just does. Like I said, I'm really pleased that it's sort of come out to me like that for the guys, particularly for the guys, actually, some of the pro sailors, some of the unbelievable sailors who put their name and their reputation on the line to show us it's a bit of a reward back for guys like that. It would be remiss of me sort of to single out anyone particular on the crew, because we've always said we just want to have a crew, a loyal crew, and like that.
Is it too early to say whether you'll come back next year, and if you do, will you race in the same boat or will you get a new boat?
The question that got asked, that same question got asked to me yesterday, I did say to my wife, that she said, how long will this go on for? And it was really easy to say, until we get a victory. I thought that'd buy us at least 10 or 20 years in the game. So when it came out like it did, I guess I probably should just go to her to see if I can convince her to let me back down on that promise, because I loved it. It's one of those great experiences which you might get only once every 3 lifetimes. And so to do it and to actually taste it and stuff like that, you'd be mad not to want to go around again.
Have you told her about the decision yet?
I sort of spoke to Kelly briefly last night about it, and I haven't actually asked. Because I sound so stupid. I've got to ask my wife to about stuff like that. We're going to take a holiday after this. It's been a long month. Like December's a long month in a lot of ways, and we're going to take a break after this. I'm sure there'll be on the agenda of discussion somewhere. So yeah, won't have an answer on that.
Have you been feeling for Michael Coxon during this past day?
We got to where we did in this race because of Michael Coxon. Quite frankly, he was one of the key ingredients on making a boat that is probably slower in every wind angle than our opponents get to the line faster. So win, lose or draw, Michael had 100% of my support. He had 100% of the team support, and quite frankly, it'd be remiss of us to have anything but great feelings towards Michael, even if this didn't go right, because we wouldn't have been there in the first place without him.
Was there anything in particular which...
Protest aside, you've finally beaten Wild Oats and you can finally celebrate it. How do you feel?
We've come second to them quite a lot, actually, and we came second to them in this time last year, and we went to Hamilton Island, and you realise how many races there are at Hamilton Island when you're constantly coming second to the same boat. I mean, sort of quite a few times over. It is an against the odds victory, I guess, for us. Thing is, though, is all these guys are in the team. We had this sort of feeling when we left the dock on Boxing Day that we're going to do okay in this race. We believed it. The professional crew sort of had a good solid feel about it, and anybody who's ever been superstitious about anything also says, I think Lord's going to do good this year. I think it's going to be good. And to be quite honest, as an owner skipper, you love hearing that sort of stuff, And so, yeah, it was there's this thing that I'm still waiting for one of the my crew members to wake me up and say, "You're on watch, get up." You know what I mean? Which has been like a pretty busy 24 hours. But you're saying that, yeah, it's a buzz for us. The buzz is made best by the fact that Oates is such a fantastically run campaign. It's such a professionally run yachting sport by the Oatley family that having them in the race and having them compete the way they did and so fiercely, like I said, it accelerated and heightened the value to us to go down the wire with a racing team like that. They're the benchmark of probably super maxi racing, not only in Australia and the world. So it's as I said to a couple of guys at the bar last night, thank you for making such a good race. It makes it so much better for us, and I still feel like that today.
Was there anything in particular which swung the jury your way?
Sorry, can you say that again?
Was there anything in particular which swung the jury's decision your way?
Look, I think that they've got an obligation, Geraldine, to take the protest on the facts and go through it very thoroughly and make sure that there's no stone unturned. I think one of the things that they did take was that Michael Coxon's question was not to gain any advantage for our boat at all, but rather to test and check, do you know what I mean, how his business clients' product that they bought off him was going. He's a businessman. He doesn't charge any money to sail with us. His day job is selling sails, and I can understand why it was bothering him. Going, I just hope that the guys who on Oates who bought a very expensive sail off me, I hope that it's going okay for them and that it hasn't broken or anything like that, because I guess it goes to his reputation. So they made a point of saying that they don't think there was any advantage. They don't even think that he saw the advantage when they heard Michael's side of the story. So I guess that was the major factor in why the protest was dismissed.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys. I'm sorry to keep you waiting.
Anyone who wants to know what happened up there?
And initially teary and clearly hoarse skipper of Investec Loyal Anthony Bell looking relieved after news that a protest by the Race Review Committee has been dismissed after 3 hours of deliberation, and his...
this afternoon. We'd love to see you all there.
Thanks, Rob.
Can we have a chat with Gary at all?
Committee
Or one of the jurors, perhaps? Or
So yes, here's the Investec Loyal crew has won line honours in this year's Sydney to Hobart. If you are just joining us, news just in that the review jury has in fact dismissed that initial protest. Sports reporter Luke Doherty joins me. Luke, and I guess common sense has prevailed here, this technicality, the breach of alleged breach of Article 41 dismissed, and the crew that performed best have been awarded rightful winners.
Yeah, that is exactly right, Vanessa. And it looks like Gary Lineker, the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia, may be about to speak here. So we'll just listen in a moment, but this 3-hour hearing wrapping up. Here's Gary Lineker.
Yes, I believe that the jury will have gone through to the nth degree each and every fact, each and every rule, and made sure that they have made the right decision. I'm very glad about the decision. It's wonderful to see that the Investec Loyal crew, led by Anthony, have come out of this race the winners after sailing in such a magnificent manner.
Are you concerned that after 2 years of protest that the reputation of this race will be tarnished a little?
Oh, I don't think it's... I mean, the reputation of the governance, if you understand the racing rules of sailing, are really impeccable. But in 2 cases, in 2 years, there's been a necessity for the race committee to make a report to the jury. And unfortunately, in my mind, gets called a protest. It's a report. The report of an alleged breach has occurred. The jury have looked at the alleged breach in both cases, actually, and decided that they weren't they weren't breaches that needed to be penalised, and they've been able to dismiss both protests. The governance of this race will require us, and often requires us in in other divisions, to have protests. There's many protests in this race from between competitors, from race committees, etc. And we will continue to keep the governance of this sport at the highest level. The Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race is renowned for that in all forms of governance of sailing, particularly the keeping of the rules and also safety.
In your opinion, is it perhaps time to overhaul the rules?
Could there be a system where maybe there's a yellow card awarded while they're on the water and a warning being applied so it's not all post-race, they can enjoy the celebration?
Well, there's a lot of issues with regard to that, and quite simply that does happen in other forms of sailing. In long ocean racing we have issues, and if we had have tried to even have a quick hearing after the race when the guys arrived last night, it would not have been fair to anybody with regards to fatigue. They wouldn't have been in a position to adequately defend themselves with the emotion and the fatigue that there was at that particular time. So I think we should all go and get emotional and fatigued now.
Do the rules need a bit of an overhaul, perhaps?
They're continually looking at the rules and suggestions. We have the opportunity through Yachting Australia to make suggestions for the changing of rules. I do believe that there's governance in this situation. We received, or the race committee that I appoint received information that was questionable. Once that had reached the public forum, they had to refer it to the jury. That has happened, and the correct decision's now been made, and we move on.
Gary, in a competitive sporting marketplace, you have a lot of boats out there, spectators, a lot of spectators on the shore. Does that suggest that changes need to be made?
Oh, yeah, well, sorry, I've got to get rid of this. Right now, I don't see any need for a change. I believe that this is a governance issue. It's unfortunate with the timing of this great race that this happens at this time, but I do believe that there is a requirement for a rule that prevents outside assistance. It was obviously found this time there was no outside assistance, so we move on. I don't believe there's any change for this particular rule. Possibly we can find better ways of handling this governance requirement in the future that is more timely, but when it happens to be with the boat that has line on us, as I acutely know after 2 years as Commodore and 2 years of this same thing, we had the rehearsal last year, it is difficult, but there is the question of fatigue. As I've said, I'm just repeating myself.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks, Gary.
Hello.